Welcome to the Christian Atheist, where faith and reason viewed in the incarnation. Episode number 125, Chatterview with Jennifer Galardi. A few months ago, Jenny was scanning the news as she usually does in order to keep us current on what's happening in the world around us, when she suddenly let out a bit of a surprised gasp. She said to me, "John, there's an article on the Epoch Times by Jennifer Galardi entitled, 'Why I Left the Left.'" Okay, back up. Those familiar with our story, Jenny's and mine, will not be surprised that I am undoubtedly in the best physical shape of my life, essentially because Jenny is my fitness guru. Well, in many ways, one of Jenny's fitness gurus, while she bore and raised 7 children, which you would never know if you saw her today, was Jennifer Galardi. When the kids found out we were going to be interviewing Jennifer Galardi, it was like announcing we were interviewing the President of the United States or the latest Hollywood celebrity. All of them remember dancing and working out with Mom to JG's videos. To hear of Jennifer's conversion to Christianity excited us no end. So I threw caution to the wind and asked JG if she would consent to chatting with Jenny and I. Today's gracious appearance is the result. I am taking a back seat and letting Jenny run the show today. Well, both Jennys. Thanks, Jennifer, for joining us. And you swim in a much larger pond than we do, so we appreciate your coming over to swim in our waters for a bit. Welcome to the Christian Atheist.
Thank you so much. Well, I truly believe all the waters lead to one big water, ruled by one great God. So we're all in it together.
So he explained your relevance to me. It started back in 2005. I don't know if you remember all your DVDs. Because you put out a lot.
Vaguely, yes.
It was prevention. It was prevention fitness.
Mm-hmm. That was my second one.
Was that okay? 2005, and then we followed you for 10 years, and then we kind of just dropped away. But over the summer, you have back when I remember, you had a standing stomach workout where you stand up and work out. So that's what I was looking for on the web, and that's when it came up. Jennifer Galardi, Why I Left the Left. And I thought, this can't be the same Jennifer Galardi.
Something very different than what you were looking for.
Exactly. So that was really exciting. So you've accomplished a lot in your life. You've accomplished a lot of things. You've been a writer, fitness instructor, fitness expert, author, podcaster, actress, right? You've done acting too. Yeah. So who are you right now? Officially, because you've had a huge change.
That's a good question. I don't know. My brother calls me a culture warrior.
Is he aligned with who you are now? Is he mocking or is he serious?
We've switched, actually. It's ironically, we've switched a bit, which is interesting. He's also a lawyer, so he's very hard to debate because he's very good at what he does and very smart. So I'm usually just trying to keep up. But so he calls me that. I can tell you part of me that has stayed the same through the whole thing, and that is my search for truth and my seeking God. So that's the part that's been consistent.
And you feel you've been seeking God all the way through?
Yes.
You didn't know it was him.
Didn't know it was Jesus.
Right. Okay.
Until a couple of years ago, really, a couple of years and 2 months. But yeah, I've always been a seeker. I think that's always been the foundation of my life, has been a spiritual seeking and a quest and spiritual practices. And they took many forms and different paths. And, what was missing was a sense of kind of rationality, a sense of logic, logos, God, really, the monotheistic God of Christianity and also Judaism and also Islam. But, that's been the same. What's changed is just the outer manifestation, right? So during my seeking, I ended up teaching the things I was learning. I was a dancer growing up, and so I taught dance. And then as I became more entrenched in my own personal journey, my own personal healing, I'm like, oh, I should teach this. And somehow the stars aligned. I ended up in front of the camera, and that's what happened. And then I kind of feel like I brought people along with me on that journey as I ventured from fitness to nutrition to yoga to meditation to all these different practices. And that took the form of writing. And I really thought that that's what I was called to do, that I was called to be a teacher.
You're very good at it. Yeah, you're very good. Yeah, I mean, you were excellent at teaching dance, and your writing. We were super impressed.
Yeah, surprised.
Yeah.
I mean,
not surprised that you can write, but just surprised it was just really well done.
Well, the ability to do a variety of things well,
right,
isn't often found.
Right. Go ahead.
Sometimes I say that I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, which in some ways is positive, and sometimes when you're looking for a job, not so great because people don't know where to put you. So I've really just kind of trusted the Lord to direct me on that path. But I really thought that that was what I was put on earth to do. And then, COVID happened and I kind of underwent this personal transformation. I started thinking, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? This fitness? Do I want to be kind of a slave to my body? One, the way it looks, two, I'm sure I'll always stay fit and healthy because I feel like without that, I'm not empowered to do my purpose, whatever God's calling me to do. If I'm sidelined by disease or low energy or poor nutrition or feeling terrible, illness, sickness, whatever it might be. So, I mean, that's so ingrained in me now. It's just part of who I am. But I did think I don't know, so much of my old career was really based around my insecurities and the need to be seen. And with those gone and healed and knowing who I am in Christ, I just think my career has taken another path.
Exactly.
And in a way, I'm still a teacher. I still want to teach people about the foundations of government, the roots of America's order, political systems, civic education, common sense at this point. It just seems like that's gone out the window. So I'm just trying to rationalize. So anyway, that's that.
Well, we were going to talk to you about your past. You grew up in a conservative home, a traditional home, and you got to the point where you just rejected it all, right?
I did, for the most part. I think, 18, I wanted to get out of this small town, Pennsylvania, hick area. I thought, gosh, there was so much more out there, and I want to be refined and polished and
and just know things, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the heart of it, I have a curiosity, and I felt like there was something bigger for my life, and so I went to school in Virginia, and I wasn't sure that I was going to find the something bigger in my life in Alabama, but that's where I ended up after school for a couple of years, and then I moved out to LA and became very disconnected from how I grew up. And this happens with a lot of kids. 18-year-olds, college, they go to explore.
Yeah. What would you say? Why did you kind of walk away from your parents, what your parents' experience was?
Well, part of it, I think, is who I am. I always want to know the why, right? I'm very curious. It's not enough to just say, well, because this is the way it is, or this is the way. And you have to, I always say it's important too, that while my parents were conservative and brought me up in that kind of philosophy, it wasn't underpinned with religion. So it wasn't because I didn't have any understanding of God at that point. It was just because I said so. And that to me was never good enough.
Did your parents take you to church? Or
I was baptized. I was baptized in the Greek Orthodox faith. My mother's side of the family is Greek Orthodox, but I wasn't raised with it much at all. I would go to Easter services, Greek Orthodox Easter services with my grandmother from time to time, but it wasn't a foundation. It wasn't instilled in my being. So, I went out in search of, I think ultimately that, but I'm rebelling, right? I had a strict upbringing. I was rebelling. I wanted to be free. I wanted to feel like I was charting my own course. I went to school. I thought I was going to be
the wise.
Yeah.
Wanting to find the wise. Yeah.
And then I thought I was only, I was a undergraduate, actually public policy undergrad major, thinking I was going to go to law school. And I thought, oh, well, this is just what my parents wanted me to be. This is not what I want to do. And like you said, I did have all these other interests. I was smart enough to do well in school and to go to a good university, but I was also a very creative person. I also loved dance and movement. So I think it was just, a form of rebellion, a genuine curiosity, a desire to be creative more so in my professional life than I had been. And so, yeah, it was all of those things.
Right. No, I understand that. That was part of my own story. I just didn't understand the why. And so, and without that, you just there's no reason to do it except for tradition,
Yeah.
And do you find that with Christianity now? A lot of tradition and a lot of like, why are we doing it this way?
Oh, it's interesting that you're bringing this up because I've returned to not only have I returned to Christianity, but I've returned to Orthodoxy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I started going back to the Greek Orthodox Church for almost about a year now. And I'm reading a book about, what's the name of this book? It is, see if I think I just took a picture, Thirsting for God in a Land of Shallow Wells. The author's.
Do you know that one?
No, but I'm just thinking that's exactly where we are. It sounds like the perfect book for us.
Right, for the moment, right, just for the cultural moment, right. But it's by a man named Matthew Gallatin, and he's describing his journey from Protestantism to Orthodoxy and how many Reformed churches look to Orthodoxy. Well, it's just this ritual. You don't need that to be close to God. It's a personal relationship. And he's outlining, no, this is how the first fathers did it. This is how the apostles, they knew without this ritual, these are ways to grow closer to God. We're not just doing this to do this, to be like performative, the icons, the blessings and all those kinds of things. So I find that the Orthodox faith has given me it's funny because I was in tears this weekend, missing my church so much that I did not expect to miss.
So your church is out in California?
The one I had been going to, the Greek Orthodox Church, yes, is St. Demetrius in Camarillo, California.
Do they have, where you are now, do they have Greek Orthodox churches?
Not a Greek Orthodox, but if you are baptized into the Orthodox faith, I went to a Russian Orthodox church.
I was going to say, I thought there was a lot out in central PA. Right?
Yeah, there's some Eastern Orthodox, and I am allowed to take communion, which is great. But the church I went to is now just at a mission status, so it doesn't have a building. It doesn't. It's
the church you went to here.
Yes. My church in California is this beautiful church with the icons and the lighting of the candles. It's not huge. It's not like St. Sophia's in downtown Los Angeles, but it's not in the back of like a VFW building either. So, I've come to appreciate beauty and art. I mean, if you go to cathedrals and Orthodox churches, this isn't just for show. This was to honor God, beauty.
Right.
And this coincides with my transformation kind of from this progressive liberal ideology that rejects beauty, that rejects kind of anything ornate in the name of like function, right? I mean, look at the buildings we're building today. They're not pretty. Like there's no eye towards what's beauty. And now we can't even say like beauty is almost something to be ashamed of. We can't put beautiful women on the cover anymore. They have to be overweight because everybody's got to be inclusive. We can't say somebody is objectively gorgeous, or then you're demeaning them by their looks. And that they're more than just a pretty face, and we're insulted by beauty. And I'm like, this is bizarre.
It is bizarre. It really is.
Anti-human.
Right.
Well, and it's anti-human. And then like, God forbid, a woman is, we acknowledge the unique beauty of a woman's body. Now all you have to do is put lipstick on a pig and it's a woman. So it's like put a tutu on and all of a sudden you're a woman. And I'm like, that's not really how it works, because you don't have the form, the beauty, the hourglass shape. We're all different shape, but you don't have the beauty of giving birth. You don't have the beauty of a woman's form. You are not a woman. Sorry.
Right.
Would you like me to keep going? Because
we know. we were shouting about that this morning while we were listening to some stuff, and this is just insane.
So now if you're curious why I'm in a different world, I think the time in a different business, I think the times call for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you went from one side. I mean, you completely flipped over. You know what I'm saying? It feels like there's no crumbs left from the old.
That's
the old
actually
life.
what I said to Jenny when we were driving somewhere today. I said she managed somehow to not just make a turn, because most people who turn from another religion or from the left to the right, there's this slow pathway where you leave go of the things that you've held on to for so long. And eventually, of course, God takes over more and more and more, and you're releasing those things. But you seem to have done a radical 180-degree turn.
Well, you said that, I was thinking you experienced it all back in your past, because we've heard your interviews, we've read your and you've experienced everything. So, and you've already found it empty and wanting. Do you think
that's the thing? Yeah. I mean, I went down a lot of dead ends. And so to me, the path with Jesus never ends. It does seem like, the title of this book, and I keep forgetting it, but Thirsting for God in a Land of Shallow Wells. This seems to have the depth that I couldn't ever imagine, and I'll never get there until I'm reunited with my Lord. But, there are still remnants. People, I think it seems like I'm very extreme because everything is extreme. If you don't agree that a man can become a woman, you're a neo-Nazi, Christian fascist, stochast, whatever the words are. I'm like, I was just telling a friend, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I'm like, listen, I still don't use like chemical soaps. I still make my own makeup remover with essential oils and jojoba oil. I don't use, well, I do have a vice. I have these like little cans of Diet Coke or Diet Dr. Pepper, but like I still cook my own food. I still want to try to grow a garden, and I don't want pesticides in my food. I mean, there's a lot of good ideas on the left. It's I haven't completely abandoned what I learned, but the thing is, it's like I'm seeking for truth. And there didn't seem to be an objective truth on the left. It was always dependent on how someone feels or emotions, or it was very politically convenient at the time. There wasn't this adherence to principle because they didn't have the adherence to the Bible. Like I find my principles and my morals and my values in the Bible now, and from how I grew up. Like I now see the value in that, right? I asked why, and now you talk about why. It's like, well, I asked the question why, and now I have good answers for the why, right? That's, at least now I have good answers. It's because I know it leads to a greater peace, a greater contentment, a future, a purpose. All these things. So now I get it.
I am a Christian with the searching and skeptical mind of an atheist. I don't want to believe anything that isn't true. I know both sides of the looking glass, and I know them with open eyes. I choose Christ's side. I invite you to join me from wherever you stand before the looking glass. That's this week's episode. Thanks for listening. And remember, you can have your religious cake and eat it too. You can have reason, respect for science, a 21st century worldview, and be a Christian.